the least favourite symptom for women when it comes to PMS and periods. It's uncomfortable, it's annoying, and for about a week it makes zipping up your jeans so much harder than it needs to be. In this video, I'm going to explain why pre-period bloat is so common, and then I'm going to share with you 8 practical tips that will really help to reduce bloating and improve digestion. These tips really do work, so if you're interested to know more, then keep watching. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Kaysa, a qualified nutritionist with a huge passion for anything relating to women's health. For today's video, I wanted to talk about bloating before our periods because it's so unbelievably common for women to experience. But actually, there are a few simple tweaks that we can make to our diet and our lifestyle which can actually make a huge difference in easing bloating. Before we dive in, I just wanted to say one really important thing, and that's if you're suffering from chronic bloating and you're feeling uncomfortable all the time rather than just a few days in the run up to your period, then it's quite important for you to speak to a GP, because it might be that your bloating is due to a bigger issue, and it's always good to get those bigger issues ruled out before making the diet and lifestyle changes that I suggest in this video, which are specific to women who experience bloating and water retention in the run up to their period. Okay, so first I just want to briefly explain why we experience bloating in the run up to our period. So there are a couple of reasons. So the first is after ovulation. So this is the midpoint of your cycle and when an egg is released, and as you enter into the luteal phase, your estrogen levels remain higher. And when your estrogen levels are high, your body tends to retain more water. Retaining water is your body's way from keeping us from being dehydrated. So, albeit very uncomfortable, it's actually very important in maintaining something called homeostasis. On top of this, during the second half of your cycle, progesterone levels increase. Now, progesterone is a natural muscle relaxant, and the effect of this increased hormone is a slower digestive tract, which can often lead to bloating and constipation. So basically, it's a bloating double whammy because of all of those fluctuating hormone levels that occur in the second half of your cycle. This type of hormonally caused bloating is most common for about 2 days before the start of your period. But also women can experience symptoms for about 5 days before the start of their period. So there's no real right or wrong, it's a very personal experience, but it does usually go away once you've been on your period for a few days. So what actually helps with PMS bloating? The good news is that there are some seriously easy steps that you can take to de-bloat before and during your period. Just have a watch through the various tips and there'll definitely be a remedy that will work for you. Tip 1. Pick potassium and magnesium rich foods if you're feeling bloated. Potassium and magnesium are important minerals for helping to reduce the symptoms associated with water retention and bloating. So one really common PMS symptom, other than bloating, is food cravings for carbohydrates and refined sugars. And this means that we tend to eat a lot more sodium than usual, which can lead to water retention. Potassium can really help to counterbalance the level of sodium in our bodies, and magnesium, known as nature's tranquilizer, can also be helpful in reducing fluid retention and bloating. A study in the Journal of Women's Health found that 200 micrograms of magnesium a day helped to reduce bloating, fluid retention, and even breast tenderness by up to 40%. Okay, so foods that are rich in potassium include things like bananas, oranges, spinach, broccoli, and potatoes. And good sources of magnesium include things like dark chocolate, avocados, nuts, and legumes. Tip 2. In the run up to your period, cut back on caffeine and alcohol. Generally, drinking caffeine and alcohol can make quite a few of our PMS symptoms worse. So things like mood swings, sore boobs, and of course bloating can all be exacerbated by these two things. So it's probably best to steer clear of caffeine and alcohol from the time of ovulation to the onset of your period. Coffee specifically can overstimulate and overexcite the digestive system. It can also irritate the bowels and it can dehydrate you, which will cause you to retain more water. And the last thing that we need is anything else contributing to us retaining more water and causing fluid retention. Tip 3. Keep hydrated. Now, it may seem completely counterintuitive to be drinking a lot more water, when we're experiencing more water retention than usual because of the fluctuating hormones. But actually it's really important to keep hydrated, and not drinking water will make any fluid retention that we do have a lot worse, in the same way that crash dieting makes our body hang on to fat because it thinks it's starving. Avoid fizzy drinks though in the quest to keep hydrated, because carbonated drinks contain a lot more air and they can make any bloating that we do have a lot worse. So instead opt for things like filtered water or even soothing teas, so spearmint, peppermint, ginger teas, all help to ease inflammation and keep you hydrated at the same time. Tip 4, embrace foods that are rich in omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids are known for their powerful anti-inflammatory effects, and there is much research out there to suggest that these fatty acids are super helpful in easing PMS symptoms in general. So make sure you include a lot more foods that are rich in omega-3 fatty acids in the run-up to your period. And good sources include things like salmon, sardines, herring, mackerel, chia seeds, walnuts and flaxseed. And actually flaxseed, it's such a great food because not only is it rich in omega-3 fatty acid, it also contains lots of soluble fibre, which can also help to ease the symptoms of bloating. I actually add a couple of tablespoons of flaxseed to my porridge in the morning. I find it's just such an easy way to include more of this food into my diet without really even thinking about it. Tip 5, keep a check on the sugar. As I mentioned earlier, sweet cravings and increased appetite is something that most of us will experience in the run up to our period. And this is because our bodies require a higher demand of energy from nutrients and foods to help rebuild the uterine lining. And because of our food cravings, we tend to be drawn to processed foods, which tend to give us that sugar fix really quickly. But these processed foods are high in sugars called sorbitol and fructose, which are actually very difficult for our bodies to digest. So it's probably only going to help you to avoid these types of foods during your luteal phase. So specifically things like chewing gum, sweets, fizzy drinks and fast food, they're all high in these sugars, sorbitol and fructose. Tip 6, amp up on the probiotics. So gas produced by the bacteria in our gut can be a major contributor to bloating. So it's important then, and actually it's important throughout the month, to nourish the beneficial bacteria in our gut with the right nutrients to allow the microbiota to thrive. So it's not as simple as to say that if you eat probiotic foods, your bloating will go away, but instead taking care and nurturing your gut throughout the month by including probiotic foods daily into your diet. This will really help to reduce and lessen PMS bloating in the long run. Probiotic food sources include live and cultured yogurts, and it also includes fermented foods, so things like kefir, kimchi, kombucha, sauerkraut, miso and tempeh. Tip 7, keep moving. It's true, working out is probably the last thing you want to do when you feel so full and bloated. And if you watched my last video on how to cycle sync your exercise and your training, you will know that your energy levels really start to wane in the run up to your period. But you will have also seen me tell you that exercise releases lots of feel-good endorphins, which is so needed when we're feeling a little bit rubbish due to all the PMS symptoms. And now I'm telling you that getting your heart rate up is one of the best ways to alleviate bloating. Keeping up with the workout routines and sweating it out can counteract the sluggish digestive system that we tend to experience at this time by really helping to move things along. But it can also help you to stay regular and reduce constipation, so things like Pilates, yoga and swimming. And actually talking about yoga, there are a couple of poses that I want to mention that are well known for helping to ease digestion and bloat, and these include the cat-cow pose, the sphinx pose and the torso twist. Tip 8, focus on self-care. The luteal and the PMS phase of our menstrual cycle can be a tricky time for a lot of us. We tend to experience things like bloating, food cravings, feelings of increased anxiety, mood swings, low energy, and all of these symptoms grouped together can leave us feeling just a little bit down in the dumps. So at this time, more than ever, it's time to up your self-care routine. There's lots of research out there to suggest that taking care of yourself can really help to ease PMS symptoms, including bloating. And the first thing I want to mention is stress. because stress can have such a huge impact on our digestive system, and this has actually been reflected in quite a few studies. So it's important to try and focus on reducing stress and anxiety. You can do things like meditating or listening to calming music, as these are ways proven to help reduce stress. Having a bloat beating bath can also really help. So adding a few drops of essential oils to a warm bath can help to relax your digestive system and your mind. Peppermint oil, fennel, juniper, these are all really good options for essential oils when it comes to beating the bloating. And finally, make sure that you're getting enough sleep. Perhaps go to bed half an hour earlier during the luteal phase in the run up to your period. Because when we don't get enough sleep, our body releases a stress hormone called cortisol, and this can really disrupt our digestive system and make things like bloating and even constipation a lot worse. So perhaps try setting a bedtime alarm to remind you when it's time to go to bed, and you can even watch my video which I did on PMS related insomnia, which has so many great tips in helping you get a better night's sleep. So those are my 8 tips for you. I hope now you know exactly why you experience bloating just before your period, and also that you know exactly what you can do in the run up to your period the next time you're in the luteal phase to really help to reduce bloating and improve digestion. If you have any questions or comments about anything I've discussed today, or have any bloating tips of your own, then please let me know in the comments box below. In the meantime, if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a massive thumbs up, and if you want to continue to learn more about your body, nutrition and hormones, then subscribe to my channel right now and you'll be the first to know when my next video has been uploaded. I'll see you next time.